This is Rummy's Corner.
Are we going to see Terence Crawford versus Canelo?
As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
So, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford? No thank you. Make no mistake, Turki Al-Sheikh has put a lot of good boxing matches together in less than a year. And that's especially true in the heavyweight division, which these past few years dating back to the COVID lockdowns, the heavyweight division had been rather lethargic, with a lot of top guys only typically fighting once a year, and rarely more than twice a year. I likewise understand that Canelo and Crawford are pound for pound two of the most talented boxers competing today. And with Canelo arguably being the biggest superstar in all of boxing, it's understandable that Turki would want to put on some big fights involving Canelo that fans actually want to see. Because frankly, since losing against Dimitri Bivol back in May 22, Canelo hasn't exactly been involved in high-profile fights that are getting fans particularly excited. He had the trilogy fight against Triple G, which wound up being far less engaging than their first two encounters. Then he beat John Ryder, and then the fight with Jermell Charlo, and more on that one in a bit. In Canelo's most recent fight, he beat Jaime Munguia back in May. Then coming up on September 14th, Canelo is scheduled to face Edgar Berlanga. But the one guy fans have wanted to see Canelo fight is David Benavidez. And for various reasons, that one has never come together. Simply put, in my humble opinion, I think Canelo has reached a stage in his career where he is comfortable and not especially hungry, where the calculation for risk versus reward, Canelo is going to make a nice payday no matter who he fights, so why take the risk? I understand the career trajectory here, and I can respect it to a large extent. Canelo paid his dues and has earned the right to do what he wants in the later parts of his career. And honestly, Bud Crawford is at a similar stage in his career, except despite his great abundance of skills and talent, he was never a global boxing superstar in the same way Canelo has been, and still is. So for Crawford, it makes sense that he might want to roll the dice, jump up a bunch of weight classes, and land what I imagine would be an enormous mega payday against Canelo. Who could blame him? I'm not saying Bud would be in it just for the payday, but worst case scenario, he gets beat up by a bigger man, doesn't lose much in terms of legacy and reputation, and of course, that big bucks payday. As far as Turki wanting the fight, while I personally am not particularly interested in this matchup, getting a bona fide superstar like Canelo as a headliner on one of his stacked cards makes perfect sense. And using a Godfather reference for my take here, sounds to me like Turki is basically saying to Canelo, look, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And this will lead to additional offers you can't refuse. So if you're smart, don't refuse the offer that's too good to refuse. Taking that a step further, Canelo is no dummy, nor are the people on his team. There is a reason that Canelo has been the biggest superstar in boxing over the last 10 years or so. He surely sees the writing on the wall. Now a lot of people are down on the fight because of Bud's performance against Madrimov. I thought Crawford won the fight, and I am a little bit surprised that there is a vocal minority who believes otherwise. But there were a lot of tricky rounds to score, it was very much a tactical chess match, and boxing scoring is inherently subject to personal preference and individual interpretation. I thought the judges were more or less right on the money, in the 115 to 113, 116 to 112 ballpark, but what the hell do I know? All I know is Bud won a unanimous decision. I thought he deserved it, and I thought he handled 154 exceptionally well against a really tough customer. The reason the fight was competitive boiled down to the fact that Madrimov is an intelligent operator with stellar footwork, a masterful understanding of range, and a mesmerizing herky-jerky style with sublime elusive movement. Taking it a step further, in terms of styles, I honestly believe that, all else being equal, Canelo's style would be more favorable to Bud than was Madrimov's. The problem is, all else ain't equal. Not at all. Bud started his career at 135 and became WBO champion. Then he became undisputed at 140. And then after that he became undisputed at 147. Now he won a title at 154, making him a 4-division champion, just like Canelo. But the problem is Bud is older, and this was his only fight at 154. He has never fought at 160, so the jump to 168 seems a jump too far by any reasonable standard. Madrimov was absorbing Crawford's power better than any of his opponents did at 147. And on top of that, Madrimov had more pop than any of Bud's previous opponents. Just look at how ineffective Charlo was against Canelo. A fight where Canelo got almost zero credit for the win because Charlo jumped up from 154, skipping 160 so that he could get the chance for the Canelo payday. A lot of fans were critical, claiming Charlo was only there for the payday, he never tried to win, and things like that. And I think that's a little unfair. Charlo realized he was overmatched, and he got stuck in biding his time mode, which translated into survival mode. And the point I'm making here is it's easy for fans to say, hey, try and win. Go out on your shield. Easy to say these things when you're not the one on the receiving end of the punches. In any case, Charlo was completely ineffective against Canelo, and he was a younger guy who was accustomed to fighting at 154, unlike Bud. Full disclosure, I personally believe Bud would beat Charlo, and indeed, I think Bud could probably beat most if not all the guys at 154. I likewise believe that stylistically, Crawford would have a better stylistic matchup against Canelo than Charlo did. But at the end of the day, I think it really boils down to the fact that weight classes exist for a reason. And Canelo ain't just some big guy with no skills and no talent. Canelo is still an elite pound-for-pound boxer. Not in the top 3 like Crawford, but certainly in the top 10. To me, this kind of talk is as crazy as people saying they want to see Tank Davis against Inoue. There are too many weight classes in between, and the size gap is too significant. And I honestly think Pac-Man's crazy ascent through 8 weight classes has left many fans with a diluted perception of realism. So, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford? I'll say it again. No thank you. But it's interesting, because while I think Canelo claiming he doesn't want Crawford is a bit of a bluff, where he thinks Turki needs him more than he needs Turki, I think Canelo is trying to leverage himself for an unprecedented payday, because the way Turki is throwing money around the boxing world like it's going out of style, Canelo has to be wondering, just how high will he go? Again, Canelo is no dummy, but then again, neither is Turki. If Canelo's bluffing, then Turki is calling his bluff. We circle back to making an offer he can't refuse. Turki obviously wants to fight, but he threw in a contingency plan because he wants Canelo to know he has other options.
So just so we're clear, so everyone understands, you've already sent an offer to Canelo to fight Terence Crawford if Terence Crawford wins tonight.
But if he doesn't, I want Ortiz.
You want Ortiz? Virgil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford.
Yeah, if they accept, we want to see this fight, and I want to see Shakur Zubaydah.
Virgil Ortiz? See, that makes a lot more sense. Ortiz is fighting this weekend against Serhiy Boachuk, and that one will be streamed live on DAZN. For anyone out there who does not have a subscription to DAZN, I have left a link in the description. Simply click the link in the description to sign up for DAZN. I actually think Canelo versus Crawford will happen. I prefer it didn't because I think there are more interesting fights out there for both of them against guys much closer to their own weight. But who the hell am I kidding? If it does come together, I'd definitely watch. But will it actually happen? I guess only time will tell, but I would assume we'd know one way or another in the not too distant future. Oh, and on that other fight Turki mentioned, Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda? Yes, please. That would be awesome. So what do you all think of a potential fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.
I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
It's too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, Mike, are you sure about that? Mo loves the business. He never said nothing to me about selling.
Well, I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.